And welcome everybody to Apocrypha Apocalypse. I am Gary Machuda. Welcome aboard to yet another chill stream. It's great to be with you. Let me adjust my headphones here. All right. Welcome aboard, everybody. Yes, it is time for the Apocrypha Apocalypse chill stream. It is Saturday and 3:30 in the morning here in Eastern time. Great to have you with us. As you know, it is extremely early, hence the low golden tones. I don't want to wake up my family while I'm doing this, but I couldn't wait. I was thrilled and pumped to jump into the Epistle of James as we're going through the New Testament and its use of Deuterocanonical books. And yeah, there is gold in them there hills. And that's what we're going to unravel today on the Apocrypha Apocalypse. And I see we got our good friends with us this morning. Tyler Rudders in the house. And he's thrilled and pumped, which I am thrilled and pumped to see. He's thrilled and pumped as well. Also, Reason Belief is also thrilled and pumped to be with us. And by the way, praise record for Reason Belief. I don't know if you guys caught the team stream we did yesterday, but thanks to your prayers, things worked out for his interview. If I'm hearing you correctly, uh, so thanks be to God for that. That's awesome. Uh, he's pumped and thrilled. Pumped. Is there a ontological difference between being pumped and thrilled and pumped? I don't know. That's a really good question. Yes, yes. So awesome. Thanks be to God for that. Got the job. I'm so glad to hear that. By the way, guys, as you know, Reason Belief is part of our extended family here on Apocrypha Apocalypse. He's done remarkable work and doing remarkable work on Reason Belief channel. And so, guys, share the love. Go over Reason Belief. Subscribe, like, hit the bell. Tell your friends. Let's show him some love. Let's expand his reach as well. He's also got a brand new book out, and which, since I'm still half asleep, if you wouldn't mind, Reason Belief, could you put in the chat the name of the book? Actually, if you want to put a link and where people could get it, that'd be awesome too. It's it sounds like an awesome book. It's one of those books that you would give to a seeker or maybe somebody who's on the journey moving into historic Christianity. And yeah, boy, I'm sorry. My brain is half asleep on these chill streams. Not only the pronunciation center of my brain is still in REM cycle, but a lot of other things too. Oh, okay. Okay. Well, hey, you have to be a mod to put something up in the chat room. Actually, that's something I didn't know. I'm still a newbie to all this stuff. You are now a mod. Let's see here. Voila. I'm surprised I didn't already make you a mod, to tell you the truth. So, yes, with great powers comes great responsibility. So now, as Paul William says, you're a goated mod. Yeah, there you go. Woo-hoo. Yeah, sorry about that. I thought I already put you into the ranks. Um, actually, you know what, Tyler? Do you want to be a mod? You've been faithful in all things, and therefore I bestow upon you a moderator position if you're interested. Let me know in the chat room. I will promote you as well. See, great things happen to those who show up in the wee morning hours. I have no idea what that entails. That makes you qualified. So you are now a moderator. Do. Basically, you can post links if you want. And you can also, if someone comes on and does things or says things that are online, you can ban them, things like that. So there you go. Bestowing goodies. And by the way, here it is. Here's the link to the book, I believe. Is that right? Can you give us the title, Reason Belief? Just so people can check that out. Here we go. Thank you so much. It's called Have Mercy on Me, a Sinner, The Hard Truths About Historical Christianity and Why It Matters. Great title, by the way. And we need books like that. So show some love, guys. Check out his live stream, Reason Belief. And he has some really good interviews, very good interviews. And it's on my to-do list is to check out his channel on a regular basis because really, really good stuff. And as you know, we have extended family all over. I might as well throw those guys out as well so that they are not burned up with jealousy. Reason Belief, awesome. Go there, like, subscribe, hit the bell. James Divine Mercy, Sam Shamoonian. In fact, I think he's still live streaming, if I remember, which Sam will not be happy that I am on here because this will cut into his sleep time. Also, Patristic Pillars with William Albrecht, of course. Yeah, he's still going. And so Kel Preston is a good friend of the Chill Stream. Let's see. Did I do something? Oh, good. Whew. I thought I stopped broadcasting. Yes, you will. Thank you. I appreciate that. You will not abuse your newly found power. God bless you, Amanda. Welcome aboard. And who else? I'm forgetting a whole bunch of people. Fight the Good Fight with Tony L. Also an awesome guy. He takes a lot of, as you know here, this is not a light beer. This is not a Pilsner beer type channel. This is a dark, rich lager of a channel. It's meat and potatoes. It's not fluff. And a lot of information, and it's very dense. But the beautiful thing about Fighting the Good Fight with Tony L is he takes a lot of this information and distills it down into bite-sized portions. So if this channel is a little bit too much to you, please subscribe, like, hit the bell anyway. But also show some love to Tony L's channel because he'll break it down for you, as we say here in the Detroit area. All right. Just looking at the chat. Had a really cool team stream yesterday. You guys can check it out. William was on board. William has had a very busy week. And so David and I were trying to hold down the fort. Actually, it's been a lot of fun, just David and I. But we miss William terribly. He was there Friday, and as always with William, there's lots of fireworks, and that was a lot of fun. And basically, we tried to tackle some questions outside the canon, which was a little scary for me because I'm a little rusty on the other areas of apologetics because I've been focused so much on this channel. But it's good to know, good to do that stuff. And one of these days, maybe I'll do another channel that just does all apologetics, not just canonical stuff. But anyway, that was a lot of fun. Check it out, guys. And as you know, with these chill streams, we are slowly going through the New Testament and its use of the Deuterocanon, which Protestants call Apocrypha. And we are actually all the way up to the Epistle of James. We just finished Hebrews. I think Hebrews has some of the most interesting material. But James is packed with material. We're going to talk about that in a second. And but I don't think there's anything in James that, as far as probative weight, is terribly useful. But it is useful, showing how he, like the other authors of the New Testament, do indeed use and employ deuterocanonical text. So, wait, I want to put this up. Reason Belief, by the way, Gary, I'm turning my chapters into PowerPoint presentations. If you want me to do a presentation on a chapter on the Deuterocanon, let me know. Oh, yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Great idea. Maybe we could do a chill stream since you're a regular. Unless you want to do a team stream, whatever you want to do, I'd love to have you on the channel. Yeah, no doubt. In fact, we could even maybe do both if you want, because I want to help you promote your book. You're a good friend of the channel. Absolutely. We will do that. And I love that because there's so many different ways you can look at the problem of the Old Testament canon. Because as you know, Protestants are missing 7 books known as the Deuterocanon, which are Wisdom, Sirach, Tobit, Judith, Baruch, 1st and 2nd Maccabees, also some chapters in Esther and Daniel. And those are not in Protestant Bibles, modern Protestant Bibles, although occasionally you'll find some that include it. But they are found in Orthodox and Catholic Bibles. And we call them the Deuterocanon commonly. Protestants call it Apocrypha because they see it as mere human writings. And that's why the New Testament evidence is so important, because it shows that the New Testament was using these books and engaging these books, actually in some very profound ways, like we saw in the Epistle of Hebrews, that show that they believed it was authoritative scripture. And then you just kick it off from there, going into the early church, how the early church fathers used these books. We already did some pretty deep dives here in the Chill Stream on Josephus and his so-called canon. We also looked at Melito Sardis. We looked at whether prophecy ceased, at least as far as rabbinic literature and the first Maccabees, which is a very common objection. We've done a lot so far on these Chill Streams. So that's important, the New Testament. But I think if you go by the New Testament evidence alone, I don't think you can come up with a canon. Actually, reason belief. I wonder, would you concur with that? Awesome. Great. Let me know when you are done. Because the problem is, of course, the New Testament doesn't use every book in the Bible, and there's no reason why it should. So there will be books, both deuterocanonical and protocanonical. Those, by the way, for those who are newbies to this idea, protocanonical books are the books that we all share. And so not all the protocanonical books are even quoted or alluded to. And of course, not all the deuterocanonical books are quoted or alluded to either. And then you have the added problem of books that are formally cited, but we don't know where they come from. Famously, well, there's actually 5 of them. And one of them is Hebrews 11:37 that people think is a reference to the ascension of Isaiah, but actually we're not really sure what it's pertaining to. Could be Isaiah, could be something else. What do you do with that? And what do you do with First Enoch being quoted formally by Jude? So if you restrict yourself to New Testament evidence alone, you will come up with a canon that is a collection of inspired scripture that doesn't match anybody's Bible. And that's why church history is so important, because for us, and here on the Apocrypha Apocalypse, what matters is Jesus. Why? Because Jesus is the Son of God. He is the one who inspired scripture in the first place. And he's the norm that sets all norms and the standard that sets all standards, including the standard of the Bible. So he would infallibly know which books he inspired, being God. And he undoubtedly would have passed this information on to his disciples. After all, that is a pretty crucial data, right? Which books belong in Scripture, which ones are sacred. Either he would have done this explicitly or implicitly through his teaching. And it would have been the apostles' duty to hand that on to the church. And so the early church has a vote. It isn't just New Testament evidence. But nevertheless, the New Testament evidence, I think, is enough there to show that some of the Deuterocanon was held to be inspired authoritative scripture by the inspired authors in the New Testament, namely Wisdom, Sirach, and 2nd Maccabees for sure, and possibly Tobit. The other ones are like Judith. We've seen a couple of references to Judith so far in the chill streams, But unfortunately, they're not very telling as far as showing us what authority or what status it had. But nevertheless, it is used. And also a little bit of Baruch. Um, so, yeah. So I think there's enough in the New Testament to refute the Protestant Old Testament. Um, but I don't think there's enough there to actually give you a canon that represents anything that anybody uses. Let's see. Okay. Reason Belief says, I would agree, Gary. You cannot create a canon list via the New Testament only. This, for me, emphasizes the need for councils and canons. Yep, absolutely. Totally agree. So that is the overall. Hey, so-called Preston is in the house. I don't know how you slipped in through the radar screen, my friend. In fact, I was just promoting your channel. Yes. And SoCal, we got to have you back on the channel sometime so we can talk some more. I'd love to dive in a little bit more with the, let's say, Bible Society stuff. There's a lot of information out there. Oh, yeah, no problem. You're awesome. Of course, we're going to give you a heads up, tell people to go there. But I'd love to have you on the channel as well, along with Reason Belief, and dive into some, like I said, the Bible Society, where these books were finally removed from Protestant Bibles. By the way, that was in the early 1800s. That would be something I'd love to cover more in depth. We did a little bit on this channel, but there's so much out there. I'm sure you've uncovered a bunch. And other things too. So let me know, Selcal, if you want to come on. Maybe we could either, I know this is really late for you, but we could do a chill stream or we can have you on a team stream. But love to have Reason Believe, SoCal Preston back on. Tony L's on pretty regularly. And I'd love to get Sam Shamoon on the channel. I'm just giving you my wish list of who I'd like to see on the channel. By the way, let me know in the chat if there's anybody I'm missing. Sam Shamoon has developed an argument based on Jesus' celebration of Hanukkah and the Festival of Lights, which is established in Maccabees. And I've been aware of this for quite a long time, John 10. I never really gave it a lot of credit, but Sam has really been developing this idea, and now he has like a full-fledged apology based on it. I'd love for him to come on the channel sometime and just unpack all the different lines of evidence that he has that points to Hanukkah and ultimately to Maccabees and the establishment of the feast and the divine approval of Hanukkah. So I've seen it on the Shamoonian channel, and you guys, if you did some searches on the channel, I'm sure you would find it. He probably has an article on it. I wouldn't doubt it. Excuse me. Apocrypha Apocalypse, you got it. Just let me know, and we could discuss. Oh, yes. Oh, thank you for reminding me, SoCal. You know, the problem with chill streams, like I said, parts of my brain are still asleep. Everybody, SoCal is going to be debating T-Fan on the scriptures to Deuterocanon, excuse me. And we might do a watch party. That's coming up fairly soon. But yeah, thank you. Yeah, I'll definitely let you know. We'll get that hooked up and ready to go. And oh yeah, got a tickle in my throat. Jesus celebrating Hanukkah is one of those things for me that showed me that I needed to take the Deuterocanon seriously. I grew up celebrating it with my Jewish family friends. Oh, that's cool. That's cool. Great. Oh, why do I get these little coughs while I'm live streaming? Don't know. And so I am. This channel is dedicated to the topic of the Old Testament canon So if you want to do subjects like that, I suggest you go to Shamunian channel. Let's see. Um, yeah, so we're going to do a watch party. We'll definitely do that. Um, and what was that? Let me see. Now I lost the. Sorry, guys. I got to wake up. Discussion. We can also discuss pre-debate standards for TFAN defending inspired scripture. That is one of those areas that is so important. Like, how do you define inspiration and what does that entail? Protestants will say the so-called Apocrypha is not inspired, but then they don't define what inspiration is, right? So that's really important. Yeah, we'll definitely do that. Things have been crazy as always over here. And actually, I've seen your emails. I haven't replied to them. So, yeah, I'll try to catch up maybe this weekend. And we will definitely do that. By the way, when is the watch party? I may join you if I'm around. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Would love to have you on the watch party. And SoCal has just answered you. It's on September 20th. So it's coming up in the month. And yeah, I'll definitely send feelers out to all our friends, right? And we'll do a watch party and break it down for everybody. So we'll turn. Do you know how long the debate will be, SoCal? We'll turn a short debate into a super long debate. Okay, I am. I'm going to have to. Okay, so moderators, if you could take care of I will let you exercise your newly found powers to send him to the cornfield because apparently he just wants to copy and paste stuff in the chat. 3+ hours. Oh, it's going to be a long one. Whew. Okay. Well, we'll do a watch party as long as we are able. Because you do a watch party, it's going to be like a 6-hour live stream. It'd be super long, but it'd be super fun too. Awesome. Awesome. Okay, I think we're all set. Let me see. I just want to. Yep, Sam is still going strong. He's doing a breakdown of a debate. Not as long as the greatest canon debate. Which is that? The greatest canon debate? What is the greatest canon debate? Um, all debates are long. They don't really need to be. I think, honestly, and I'd love to hear your opinion on this too. Debates, I think, should be structured differently because typically you have an opening statement on both sides, and then you have rebuttals on both sides, and then you might have Q&A on both sides or cross-ex. Oh, that's the great debate. Yeah, that was a good debate. Very, very good debate. Yes. And that was long. The greatest canon debate. Well, it depends how you define great. It was, I thought it was very lopsided, but it was fun to watch. Um, but yeah, it's our buddies on Apocrypha Apocalypse did outstanding. William and David, they killed it. But I think debates. If anybody ever challenged me to debate, which practically no one does, um, I would actually like to do this because I think the focus of the debate should be on truth and not so much scoring points and doing wins. Oh, he finished the stream. Oh, thank you for letting me know. Yeah, let's see here. Yep, you're right. He is done. So maybe he'll show up for a quick nap. Um, in fact, I talked to Sam about this, and I think he agrees. Like, I think what you should do for a debate is have one opening statement. Okay, the guy lays out his case, and then have uh, instead of doing another opening statement, because usually what happens when you have the first two opening statements is there's very little interaction and connection between the two, although it's nice for the audience to see each perspective. So you're actually having two debates when you have two opening statements. To just have one opening statement, and even I would even say have that opening statement like prepared and handed to um, the opponent so he can read it and think of a response before the debate, and then have a rebuttal by the opponent, and then open it up for cross-ex. I think that would be a lot shorter, and I think it would get to the point, right? Um, but I think having two opening statements and then all the different rebuttals to different statements, by the time hours go by, you're just barely starting to scratch the important points, right? Scratch the surface on the important points. Do 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 do. Okay, so T-Fan has the affirmative in my debate. He's making the case for the. Oh, I will be making the case for a Deuterocanon. So you're taking the affirmative. Okay. So that, yeah, defining inspiration is important. Yeah, I think so. And I actually would like to have the opponent get the opening statement so he can come up with objections and then have the interaction from that. In fact, if you want to be really fair, he can come up with his objections and send it to the first guy so he can prepare as well. And then they can just battle. Because what happens is there's so much on the plate, right, with two opening statements, is the debate goes off on all these wild tangents where you want to keep it focused, right? The more focused, the better, especially on the canon, because there's so many different working parts. That's why whenever, guys, if you're ever going to debate the canon, have a very tight, sharp, small, focused thesis. Trust me. So, like, if I was going to debate the canon, I would have something like, did Josephus establish the Protestant canon, or did he affirm the Protestant canon? Really small, just Josephus, just looking at his statement in Against Appian, right? Or did Melito of Sardis affirm the Protestant canon, or whatever, right? Does Matthew 27:43 show wisdom is inspired scripture? Is Hebrews 11:35b referencing Second Maccabees? Really short, super focused thesis, because there's just so many working parts. You would just go on and on, going off at tangents, and in the end, I don't think anybody's persuaded. But if you could do like little bits and pieces, I think that would be really fun and informative. And Greek Catholic's with us. All right. Welcome aboard, my friend. Hope you are having a good evening, I think. You're in Australia. And if it takes off, we shall call the debate format template Machuda Madness. Yeah, I was actually toying with this idea of doing a channel, like I would call it the best case for whatever channel. Like for me, it'd be best case for Catholicism channel, and use that format and actually have a debate where in video, like the guy gives the opening statement. There's time for the person to watch the opening statement to come up with a rebuttal and like have it super focused, and ultimately come up with a final statement that is scrutinized and rock solid on whatever topic we're talking about. So, and it's just entering evening 4. Wow. Okay. Singapore. Welcome aboard. Yeah, James. Hey, that's awesome. We got a moderator from Singapore. Okay, guys, I think it's time to actually start our lesson. So, welcome aboard, everybody. Don't forget, subscribe, like, hit the bell, do all that stuff. Also, we got memberships too. I want to throw that out because I got scolded by a friend that I don't promote memberships on my channel like I should. So memberships, guys. In fact, I just uploaded a members only video just as a teaser. By the way, memberships help us, they support us financially. For members only, I am going to give you some info on errors in the book of Judith, supposed errors in the book of Judith. And my first video came up on that, where I'm going to show you some things that I've been keeping in my back pocket just in case I had a debate. So, but I'm going to give it to my patrons, Patreon, and members only. So there's an incentive, guys. If you're a member, you can check it out. So there. Now, my friend doesn't have to hit me over the head because I'm not promoting memberships. Gary, you should check the comments. I am checking comments. Hey, Sam's with us. Hey, Sam, welcome aboard. Really good stream too. You missed it, Sam. We had some weird guy on claiming that the Father is the Son. So I told him to go to your channel and bug you because I don't want to deal with modalist. But now it's time for your nap. So hopefully you went over there. I'm sure you didn't. All right, so let's do this. So we're going to talk briefly about James 1:13 and its use of Sirach 15:11 through 20. Like I said, guys, when it comes to New Testament, the name was I am, all caps. And the guy was just copying and pasting, assertions in the chat room. So one of our mods zapped him. Yeah. Did you read mine? Should check the comments. Yes. Are you, James? Was it the time in Singapore that you want me to see? Because I did comment on that. Sure, if I was a moderator. Is that what you want to be a moderator? Oh, wait. I thought I made you a moderator. Okay, James. Guess what? You are now a moderator. You deserve it, my friend. Great authority requires great responsibility. And yeah, so I'm sure the guy chickened out, Sam, because he was just a copy and paster. He's too much for your brilliance. Hey, family. All right. Hey, Byzantine Finance is in the house as well. It's a party. Okay, so like I was going to say, when we're looking at New Testament evidence for the Deuterocanon, not all of it's equal. And we actually did some pretty big fireworks in the Epistle of Hebrews. James, we're not going to have that kind of fireworks, but nevertheless, there are things that we're going to point out because I think ultimately, cumulatively, all of these things, when you see it together and you've been watching these chill streams, I think you're forced to conclude that the New Testament really is using these books in some pretty profound ways and also some non-profound ways. So just like the rest of the scripture, right? Oh, the comments on, the last chill stream and members video available for us. Okay. Well, you're now a moderator. That's right. No fireworks for me. Okay. Okay, so this one is fairly famous, but I don't think it really shows a lot. But nevertheless, we're going to cover it because that's what we do here on the channel. Okay, let's start off with this. Let's talk about the Epistle of James overall. Now, this is a quote from so-called Preston's favorite book and mine, The Use of the Apocrypha in the Christian Church, put out by Dobney. And he cites Dr. J.B. Mayer. And he says, gives a list of no less than 32 resemblances to Ecclesiasticus, otherwise known as Sirach, otherwise known as Ben Sira. and 12 to wisdom. So that'd be the wisdom of Solomon. The former is much larger than any list of resemblance that he discerns to the canonical book, Proverbs taking the lead of these with 13. Okay. So Mayer basically gives an overview of the use of the Deuterocanon by the Epistle of James, or in the Epistle of James. He comes with 32 resemblances to Sirach and 12 to wisdom, and Proverbs with 13. Okay. Now, me being a nerd, what do? I run down the source just to double check, and here it is. Here's the source for you guys. And yes, it does. It's interesting. So here is his overview of literature that bears resemblance. So we're talking about allusions, references, that type of thing. Now notice, guys, Genesis, there's 2. Exodus, there's 4. Leviticus, there's 3. Numbers, there's 1. Deuteronomy 9. Joshua 1. 1 Kings 8, which is pretty surprising. Psalms, there's 10. And then you have 13 to Proverbs, 1 to Ecclesiastes, 11 to Isaiah, Jeremiah 3, Ezekiel 1, Daniel 1, Hosea 3, Joel 1, Amos 2, Jonah 1, Micah 1, Zechariah 6, Malachi 4. And Deuterocanon, we got 32 from Sirach and 12 from wisdom. So there's an enormous amount of Sirach in the Epistle of James, according to J.B. Mayer. And wisdom, there's only one less allusion or reference in James than to Proverbs. Now, of course, the Epistle of James is categorized as wisdom literature, so you would expect that it's going to use a lot of wisdom literature, right? But this, I think, is very interesting, just as an overview, that this Protestant author discerned an awful lot of connections with Sirach, and actually quite a few with wisdom. Like I said, it's on par with Proverbs, which you would expect wisdom literature like the Epistle of James to use. Yes. Yeah, cool. All right. Very good. Yeah, I got them on Logos. Logos is, for me, it's a lot easier for research. But fortunately, I had both Dubney and also J.B. Mayer on Logos. So it's just a question of clicking a button. But if I didn't, I would still look it up and find it anyway in hard print. So yeah, that is a lot. So that kind of shows you. Now, obviously, James is not a very long epistle. Memory serves me correctly. James has 5 chapters. And so you shouldn't expect, I mean, if you see this number of allusions in a book that only has 5 chapters, obviously these are going to be not full out quotations, right? Because it would definitely be longer than 5 chapters if these were pretty substantial. James the Less loves Sirach. Yeah, that's the conclusion, apparently. And what's there not to love about Sirach? Okay, so the text in question for today is James 1:13, which is a little odd. And I think Sirach explains why it's a little out of the ordinary, right? James says, no one experiencing temptation should say, I'm being tempted by God, for God is not subject to temptation, the evil, and he himself tempts no one. Okay. Pretty straightforward, but it's kind of weird to accuse God of tempting you, don't you think? Now, there is a proto-canonical text that it seems to come close to this, and that's Proverbs 19:3. A man's own folly upsets his way, but his heart is resentful against the Lord. So, yeah, kind of, sort of, could be a basis for James, but I don't know. Seems to me a very distant connection. In fact, I would probably have not picked this out had not commentaries mentioned it. But his heart is resentful. It doesn't quite make that connection that you're accusing God of tempting you to sin, right? Pretty veiled. But when we go to Sirach, we find this. Say not, it was God's doing that I fell away, for he hates what he does not do. Then verse 12, say not, it was he who set me astray, for he has no need of a wicked man. Abominable wickedness the Lord hates. He does not let it befall those who fear him. When God in the beginning created man, he made him subject to his own free choice. If you choose, you can keep the commandments. It is loyalty to do his will. There are set before you fire and water. Whichever you choose, stretch forth your hand. Before man are life and death. Whichever he chooses, shall he be given him. Immense is the wisdom of the Lord. He is mighty in power and all-seeing. The eyes of God sees all that he's made. His understanding man's every deed. No man does he command to sin. To none does he give him strength for lies. Well, this one, I think, is much closer than Proverbs, right? Proverbs, you kind of have to squint and turn your head, kind of make out, okay, this could lead somebody to say God tempted me or led me astray, as Sirach puts it. But look at this, guys. This is in your face, right? Several times in this passage. It was God's doing that I fell away. And his rebuttal is, for what he hates, he does not do. I love that, right? God doesn't do what he hates. And God hates it when people fall away. So therefore, God would not cause people to fall away. And it says, say not. It was he who set me astray. Again, that's essentially God's tempting me, right? And I love this. For he has no need of a wicked man. So why would God make wicked men if he has no need for them, right? I love the logic of Sirach. It's very, very down to earth, right? Abominable wickedness the Lord hates, and he does not let it befall those who fear him. Now, I highlighted this text because this is a really important text. It's a little bit unrelated to our lesson today, but it's one that you guys should know. Here, Sirach affirms human free will. And this section in Sirach caused magisterial Protestants conniptions. In other words, for those who don't know what conniption is, they didn't like it because the early reformers believed in like predestination and that we have no freedom whatsoever. Luther famously uses the analogy of that we're just beasts of burdens, we're donkeys, and we go on whichever direction whoever rides us. So if God rides you, like you, the donkey, you will go to heaven. If the devil rides you, you go to hell. But the donkey doesn't have a choice. And I think he was kind of riffing off Aristotle, actually, on this analogy. So the reformers denied free will. And this became an important proof text for Catholics against Protestants that Sirach teaches that you do have free will quite plainly in this passage, right? So this was definitely one of those passages in the Deuterocanon that led Martin Luther to disparage these books After all, it completely counters what he believed. Now, interesting enough, you guys, I talked about the Leipzig disputation with Johann Eck and how important that is, because that's the first time Luther flat out rejects the canonicity of a deuterocanonical book, actually all the deuterocanonical books. But what a lot of people miss is that his debate with Luther was the second Leipzig disputation. Leipzig had an earlier one between Johann Eck and a companion of Luther named Andreas Karlstadt. And the first debate was on free will. And it's what's really interesting about that exchange. I should have had a slide for you guys. Sorry about that. What's really interesting is that Eck cited Sirach, but Andreas Karlstadt didn't reject Sirach as non-canonical. He actually responded and said, "No, you're misinterpreting Sirach," basically. Now, later, this very same person, Andreas Karlstadt, would write a book on the canon where he will deny the canonicity of Sirach. But in 1519, during this debate, he didn't raise it as a debating point like Luther did later on with Second Maccabees. So, so just I want you to know this. Also, the Puritans, yeah, you're right. SoCal's absolutely right. Yeah, the Puritans had fits over Sirach. And also SoCal, you know as well, and we've had, I've put this on the channel, the Anabaptists, the radical reformers, the non-magisterial reformers, they used to cite Sirach against the magisterial reformers. Now, by the way, when we say that the Protestants rejected the Deuterocanon, we're only talking apparently of a small minority within the Protestant movement. You have also the radical reformers who weren't magisterial. So, like Anabaptist would fall into the radicals. They accepted the Deuterocanon. In fact, they accepted the larger, even apocryphal works. And so when they would argue against the magisterial reformers, and by the way, the magisterial reformers hated the Anabaptist. In fact, the Protestants they persecuted the Anabaptist. But anyway, when they debated things like free will, guess what the Protestants cited against the Protestants? They cited Sirach, this passage right here, against them. So it really wasn't a Catholic Protestant issue. It was also a Protestant issue as well. The thing is that magisterial reformers basically won the day. The Anabaptists shrank and became less significant in the Protestant movement. And eventually the Anabaptists kind of punted to the Protestants and got rid of these books, especially after Trent. So a lot of people don't know that back history. But yeah, they cited Sirach as authoritative scripture against magisterial Protestants. Interesting enough, this passage here. So I wanted to bring it up just because that's just a really interesting historical footnote that a lot of people don't know. Reason Belief says, Gary, am I correct in the link between Sirach 15:11 and Paul's lament in Romans 7:15-20? You know, that doesn't ring a bell right off the top of my head, Reason Belief. There could be, but I'm not aware of it. I would have to look into that. So good. You gave me some homework. I'll have to check that out. Let's see here. Yes, it is weird. I agree. Reason I just read both and I see a correlation. Okay, yeah, so I'll have to check it out. Romans 7. Yeah, that doesn't ring a bell. But I'll check it out. Maybe I'll do a chill stream on it if it's significant. Okay, so moving on in James. This is Bruce M. Metzger, Introduction to the Apocrypha. It's a decent, it's very short though. The good stuff is very short in this book. But he points this out about James. He says, the short epistle of James is characteristic bit of wisdom literature in the New Testament, contains numerous allusions not only to the book of Proverbs in the Old Testament, but also the Proverbs in the work of composed in the Palestinian author Jesus, the son of Sirach. Now, we know the background to this according to Meyer. Remember Proverbs, there's 13 reminiscences. Well, Sirach has 32. So this is a little bit of an understatement, but at least he brings it up. What appears to be reminiscences include the following. Now, he doesn't bring up all 32, but notice what he brings up. Let a man be quick to hear and slow to speak, advises James, imitating Sirach's pithy proverb. Be swift in listening and slow in answering. Actually, next chill stream, we're going to go over that one. Furthermore, James' essay on the use of the tongue in chapter 3 has numerous points of contact with similar advice in Sirach 19, 6 through 12, 20, 5 through 7, 17 through 19, 25, 5 through 10, and 28, 13 through 26. Yes, you guessed it. We're going to do a chill stream on that as well. And then finally, the thought of James 1:13, let no man say when he is tempted, I am tempted by God, for God cannot be tempted to evil, and he himself tempts no one, may be compared to Sirach 15:11. And then he quotes Sirach 15:11. So Bruce M. Metzger sees this connection, although he doesn't put a super lot of emphasis on it. Nevertheless, he sees a reminiscence. But I mean, if James is pulling from the Old Testament, where else is he going to go to? Proverbs? Doesn't seem like it. Let's see. I'm going to look. 1:9 quotes Sirach 11. 1, 11. Yeah. Yep. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, he loves Sirach. So let's go to the commentaries. A commentary on the Greek text says, but if verse 13 is speaking of God's tempting persons, then James is simply repeating the common maxim of Jewish lore, Sirach 15, 11, 20, Philo, and a couple of rabbinic references. Now, is James? There's like an ongoing joke we have here on the channel that whenever Protestant commentaries, see a connection with a deuterocanonical book, they go out of their way to kind of minimalize it, make it sound very foggy, ambiguous. Usually it's the Alexandrians, right? The Alexandrian text or tradition or something like that. We've gone over that over and over again, yes, now it's Jewish lore. So there you go, James. You got another tool in your toolkit for diminishing and demeaning the Deuterocanon. Now it's Jewish lore, okay? And a maxim, too. Yes. Alexandrian is exclusively wisdom, Gary. You are absolutely right. Now it's Palestinian Jewish lore for Sirach, I guess. Yeah. It's, they have to do that, right? Because they can't say he's actually using this text that is accepted as scripture, at least by some Jews. They can't go that far. So they have to use all these, lesser, more ambiguous soft sells, right? Yes, the other wisdom is Palestinian wisdom. Okay, now he's at a maxim. Now this raised my curiosity because, a maxim usually is, it's like a phrase, right? Turn of a phrase that becomes very common and people use maxims all the time, right? So when you describe this as a common maxim of Jewish lore, That really intrigued me because I thought, does that mean that Philo is basically saying God tempts no one? Don't say you're being tempted by God. Was that like a catchphrase, a maxim that was common among the Jews? So what I did was I actually looked these up, and this is what Philo says. So this is the first quote. There is nothing, therefore, of the wicked actions which are done secretly and treacherously and of malicious afterthought, which we can properly say are done through the will of God, but they are done only through our own will. For, as I've said before, the storehouse of wickedness are in ourselves, and those good are with God. Is that a maxim? Do you see any obvious connection with Sirach there? I don't see it. Maybe you guys see it, but I wouldn't say that's a maxim. If I had Sirach and I had this quote from Philo, actually, I would say there's kind of a correspondence of thought, maybe, but even then, it's pretty vague compared to what James says. Here's the other one too. It says, "For the Israelites coming to Moses say, we have sinned in that we have spoken against the Lord and spoken against you. Pray therefore for us to the Lord, and let him take away the serpents from us." Unquote. It is well put here. Not we have sinned because we have spoken against the Lord, but because we were inclined to sin, we have spoken against the Lord. For when the mind sins and departs from virtue, it blames divine things, imputing its own sins to God. Do you see a maxim here? Right? I don't know. Am I missing something, guys? But usually, I mean, this is from one of my favorite commentaries, but a common maxim in folklore, Jewish folklore, I don't see it. You know, this seems to be very independent thought. I don't, it does kind of align in thought, but I don't see a maxim. So it's always good to try to dig up whenever something's quoted, look up in primary text material, try to sort it out for yourself. Because if, if you're dismissing this as a maxim, then if you look up the source material, you find out, no, it's not a maxim. Very clearly, um, he's not echoing Philo or some sort of common source. It's far more direct with Sirach 15, far more direct. And in fact, in the rabbinic literature is late. So we can't say that James was using the sources reflected in rabbinic literature. It's just too late. Okay. Okay. All right. So let's go to the Word Biblical Commentary. As a series, the Word is pretty decent commentary. Says there's a persistent tradition in religious literature that attributes evil to the gods or to God or demonic forces. Examples may be called from Homer, and it cites Homer, and from the book of Genesis, especially when misfortune or calamity strikes. The tendency is to look for someone to blame and thereby evade personal responsibility. Further illustrations can be seen in Proverbs 19:3, which we quoted earlier, and that one's pretty weak and distant, in my humble opinion, and Sirach 15:11 through 20, which forms a close parallel to James' reprobation of the point of view. Do not say, because of the Lord I left the way. Do not say, it was he who led me astray. And then it just continues to quote Sirach. So, that's why I say I like the Word Biblical Commentary. They're pretty honest. although they still kind of demean the Deuterocanon a bit. But nevertheless, yeah, this is definitely a close parallel, much closer than Proverbs. And Proverbs, of course, is a proto-canonical book. So what do you say about that, guys? Let's see. Okay. Yeah, let's keep the comments focused on the subject, please. Just because it's harder for me to go through all the text if you guys are having these side comments about things that aren't related. Thank you very much. All right. Tyndall, New Testament commentary. But while God may test or prove his servants in order to strengthen their faith, he never seeks to induce sin and destroy their faith. Thus, despite the fact that the same Greek root for temptation is used for both the outer trial and inner temptation, it is crucial to distinguish them. It is probably within verse 13 that James makes the transposition from one to the other. If a person is tempted by such trials, he must not say, "This temptation comes from God." The tendency to blame God for temptation, and hence the excuse of coming to it, was a familiar problem for people who stress the sovereignty of God. If temptation comes from God, how could someone resist it? Sounds like Protestants, right? Reformers. If God's all sovereign, then if God tempts us, then we can't resist his temptation. We can't resist God's grace. A century and a half before James, Jesus, the son of Sirach, was protesting against this tendency. So it points out that a couple of centuries before James, he's basically addressing the exact same thing. Okay. So, yeah, that was worth quoting, I guess. Word Pictures, New Testament, A.T. Robinson. A.T. Robinson, by the way, is a liberal Protestant scholar. But the thing about liberal Protestant scholars is they're actually extremely honest with the text. And the reason they're very honest with the text is because they don't believe the text is inspired. So they can say anything they want because they don't think they're really being held by it. And now, I don't know if that's exactly true with A.T. Robinson, but I like A.T. Robinson a lot because he wrote a book called Redating the New Testament, or Redating the Gospels, I think it was. And he makes a really nice argument for the Gospels being written before the destruction of the temple in AD 70. So just FYI, if you're interested in that topic, check out A.T. Robinson's book, Redating the Gospels, I think it's called. But anyway, he says this: "Let no one say," and then he gives this off. He basically breaks down the verses. Let me skip. Verses 12 through 18 is a vivid picture of temptation. I am tempted of God. The use of apo shows origin with the ablative case, not agency, as in Mark 1:13 of Satan. It is contemptible, but I have heard wicked and weak men blame God in their sins. CF Proverbs 19:3, which we looked at, and Sirach 15:11. Temptation does not spring from God. All right. Not a huge endorsement, but nevertheless is recognized by A.T. Robinson. Now we have Erdman's commentary on the Bible by Dunn. He's one of the editors. And the meanings are connected. External trials can be the occasion of internal temptation. But whereas God may be said to test or try the faith of believers, and he gives Genesis and Exodus, he cannot be said to tempt anyone to sin. Sinners cannot therefore blame God for their failure to resist temptation. In making this point, James is very close to Ben Sirach, 15:11 through 20. So it's very close. Interesting. As he is also in attributing responsibility for temptation and sins to one's desire, 15:14, though without explicitly stressing free will as Ben Sirach does. So James basically is very close to Sirach, although he doesn't emphasize free will like Sirach does. Both probably refer to the inclination of the heart, which according to Genesis is towards evil. Rabbinic theology, humans are created with both a good and an evil inclination, sin lying in the inclination itself, but in yielding to it. James, like Ben Sirach, refers only to a single inclination, desire, which entices to sin, while the power to do good is attributed to the implanted word. Interesting. So, Erdman's commentary on the Bible likewise sees Sirach as important. He says, very close to Sirach. Huh. Okay. New commentary on Holy Scripture by Dimont says, quote, for a God cannot tempt with evil. Divine transcendence raises God above all evil, physical and moral, which are both included in temptation. He has nothing in common with evil and therefore cannot be the author of it. Jewish teaching was clear on this. Okay, so there you go, James. Jewish teaching, Jewish lore. Ecclesiasticus 15:11, 12:20, and Enoch 98:4. Okay. So there you go. It was very clear on this, Jewish teaching. But pagan theology, on the contrary, made Zeus the creator of evil, and we imply the same if we assert that that is natural to sin. God is the author of good. Ever giving is good, and every gift is perfect, and its origin descending as it does, etc. He does not change. This is also a really important thing. If you guys are critiquing the reformers and Protestantism in general, paganism, as we just saw in this commentary, believe that the gods make people evil or they make people good. Also, in paganism, they also denied free will. It was really Jewish theology and especially Christian theology that emphasized that humans are free. They're not locked into fate. Now, that's until the Reformation. And there are some groups in history that also try to make predestination destroy human free will. But the reformers kind of revisited that pagan idea inadvertently by making God so sovereign that it destroys any real free human agency, even a bestowed free agency through grace. And so it's funny how, you see a kind of theological connection when it comes to predestination and paganism. No, but it goes against Christian tradition because the early church fathers really emphasized human free will because they were surrounded by pagans that denied it. They didn't deny predestination, by the way, but they affirmed free will over and against paganism. And guys, if you're interested in those kind of connections, if I can do a shameless plug, I wrote a book called Revolt Against Reality. And I go into those connections and how it ends up with what we have today, which is pure chaos. So if you're interested in that kind of stuff, I just want to give a shameless plug. Revolt Against Reality. If one of the mods, if you could quickly look it up on Amazon or something, throw a link up there, I'd appreciate it. Let's see. So Calvinism is pagan. Yeah, some ways it you can err in one direction so far that you end up in the other. And it certainly has some alignment with pagan thought inadvertently. All intentions, language is where the scandal is found. Yeah. Oh man, I didn't get a notification. Oh no, I'm sorry, Ronan. make sure you hit the bell and like and subscribe and all that. I don't know, did you guys get notifications of a live? Anybody else? Nothing wrong with the statements in James. Nope, nothing wrong. True that, James. Revolt against reality noted. Thank you, Zarut. Let's see. The sovereign God can sovereignly mandate free will. Yeah, I mean, he can give a bestowed free will, right? And really interesting stuff. Is that the link? Shared images? I don't know. Yes, actually, I make those connections, Byzantine finest. Yeah, thank you. Thank you. And actually, in my book, Revolt Against Reality, I trace this line of thought from paganism to Islam to nominalism or Akamism, which turns into nominalism, which the reformers were really well soaked in nominalism. And nominalism affects their theology. And then from them, I also trace this same error into deism and ultimately into secularism, because atheists also deny human free will, at least materialist atheism. It's all part of the same package. Oh, here we go. Thank you. Yep, there's the link if you guys are interested. Yeah, it's really interesting to see those connections. In Islam, Allah actively wills everything. That's right. Almost to the point, James, where reality is almost illusion. Because Allah can will anything. He's not constrained by his nature according to how they formulate it. And he can change his mind at any time. So the only way to know Allah's will is through his revelation, which is interpreted through the clerics. Now, of course, Islam has many different schools and thoughts, and so not every Muslim believes the exact same thing, but that is something at the root of Islam. And it was something that Islamic philosophers really struggled with. But for us, I think for us Christians, the important thing is how Islam laid the groundwork for nominalism, and nominalism was basically what made Protestantism. Saying to force Western philosophy into their religion. Yeah, so it's kind of the other way around, actually. Although they didn't force it, it was more like William Ockham and I can't think of his name. I can't think of his name. There's another individual that kind of imported some of their thought into Christianity. Oh, okay, no problem. The other link is correct. Yeah, it really does turn God into a tyrant and takes away all human responsibility. It also messes up, and I get into that in the book too. It messes up Christology in some ways because, in fact, guys, a lot of people don't know this, but within Calvinistic thought, there's a really dangerous conversation going on in regarding, did Christ have a free human will? And how you answer that as a Calvinist can really destroy Christ's crucifixion and meritorious death on the cross. Think about it. If God is, if it's monogenist, God is the only power, and there's no human free will, then did Jesus have a human free will? According to Calvinism, if you say yes, he does, then you got a problem, because apparently God's sovereign predestination can have exceptions. There can be free will within that schema, which kind of undermines Calvinism. But if you say Christ didn't have a free human will, then you become a monothelite. And there's also lots of ramifications to that. So interesting stuff. But we're really going off on the tangent here. Let's go forward. And actually, I think this is the last slide. Yeah, it is. Not a lot of cross references to this, surprisingly. I've checked them, and maybe you guys can double check. Maybe I've missed some. But the only cross reference I was able to find is in the Cambridge Paragraph Bible, 1873. And as you can see here, it gives a full thing. Ecclesiasticus 15, 11, 12, and 20. But no other Protestant Bible has this cross-reference, which you would think would be everywhere, right? But no, we got crickets in the Protestant Bible. Interesting enough, right? Yes, thank you, SoCal. Yeah, that's important to know. Cambridge University Press is the one that's official printer of the King James Bible. And so this was like one of the last incarnations or editions of the King James Bible. And it's by Scribner. Scribner was the head of that. It's pretty good with cross-references. In fact, some of them are maybe a little too distant. Never call the Native Americans pagan. Okay. Okie doke. Oh, okay. That's interesting. So is that the 1611 cameo? Because the one I looked up online, I didn't see a cross-reference. So maybe I missed it. Interesting. So there you go, guys. That's basically our look into James 1:13. What does this tell us about the book of Sirach? Did James believe the book of Sirach was inspired? I don't know if you could go that far, but I think there's a couple things you could say. He definitely was familiar with it, and he seems to have used it. I mean, boy, it's so close. It's hard to say that it's just incidental that he basically says almost the same thing, just slightly different words. But again, does it show it's inspired authoritative scripture? Maybe, maybe not. Unfortunately, it's not one of those, I think, real important probative text. So there you go, guys. All Bibles online somewhere. And did you research physical copies? Both. There are facsimiles online. One of the ones I like is, I think it's online-bibles.net. They have an array of old Protestant Bibles that you can flip through. Unfortunately, some of them are missing pages, so it's not complete. You can also go on archive.org, and they have some old Protestant Bibles there as well. Yep, there you go. These are very expensive, and not all of them have facsimiles, and sometimes the facsimiles are quite expensive too. So for me, I look online. It's just easier and a lot cheaper because I can't afford to get facsimiles, and it's a lot faster too. And also the nice thing is, I could do those little clips like this one. Here, let me bring it up again. I can actually physically show you a clip when it's online, right? Where if I have a physical Bible, I got to take a picture of it or scan it, and then I got to edit it and then bring it into PowerPoint. It's like just too many steps. It's a lot easier just to go online and do a clip. And so I'd rather you guys look it up. Don't take my word for it. Double check everything I give. I give you all the references, page numbers, and if I can, I'll physically give you a picture of it. Because there's a lot of distrust, because there's a lot of myths out there, and people think that Catholics just make up this stuff about the Deuterocanon and Protestant sources. So I try to make it so you can verify what I'm saying. Like Sam says, Sam the Awesome, he always says, we bring the receipts, right? We bring the receipts. Because I'm playing for the long game, guys. People out there will do videos that will be snappy and punchy and evocative, right? Or provocative. But they could be wrong, right? So I give the receipts and I challenge you to look them up. And I think eventually, someday, you guys might look it up and you'll see that what I say is true. So it won't be as flashy. It's a bit boring, but that's right. But I think in the long run, people will check into it and they'll see I'm not making this up. I'm not making it up. In fact, that's why I was so pumped and thrilled and pumped. And by the way, we had a very interesting discussion before the live stream really kicked off on the ontological differences between those two. Because people accused me of making up stuff with Athanasius, that I was just blowing smoke and just coming up daydreaming excuses why Athanasius doesn't endorse a Protestant canon. And so I was thrilled and pumped when David did his presentation on the channel with Athanasius responding to TFAN. And he included all these Protestant sources that I've been consulting over the years. He put it all together in a nice, tight package. And in fact, I probably will do a chill stream eventually on Athanasius. We'll revisit some of those. But it's like, yeah, it's like I'm not making this up, guys. This is all in the sources. This is not original material. The only thing original is that the Protestants will affirm the different pieces of the puzzle. The only thing original is I'm just connecting the pieces. That's all. Yeah. Let's see. Let's see here. That's the only genuine way. Keep at it, Sensei. Hey, thank you. Thank you, Zarud. See, I haven't been called a Sensei in a while. That's from the radio days. Especially contradict Catholic Zionist. Just trying to catch up. Guys, if you have any questions, please put it in the chat room. Yep, awesome. Yep, we bring the receipts, don't we, Reason Belief? And look up the footnotes, guys. Footnotes are gold. Yeah, I'll have to visit that. Thank you for bringing that up. Romans 7, 15, 20, and Sirach 11. I'll have to look that up. Maybe I missed it. In fact, I know I missed it because I didn't do that when I went through Romans. Last call for questions, guys, before we cut the chill stream. In the meantime, please like, subscribe, hit the bell, and also consider becoming a member. We're going to be putting out more members-only content. There's just been lots of stuff happening here at my house with surgeries and things like that. I've been trying to do members content, but it's slowed down. But now things are starting to clear up. I'm going to start cranking out some more stuff. Also, support us on Patreon. William Albrecht and myself are both on Patreon. If you enjoy our ministry and you want to help us so that I can buy more commentaries and do more research, I appreciate your financial support. And also, there's lots of goodies that I do for my patrons that I don't do for members. For example, one such goodie is as soon as I'm done with the chill stream here, I'm going to go to my Patreon and give my patrons the PDF for today's lesson. So that's nice. They can use it for their own research, or maybe they can do Bible studies or discussions or whatever. They got all the material right there. And that's as a thank you for financially supporting me on Patreon. So thank you, patrons. I know there's patrons that watch the chill streams. Truly appreciate your support. Also, thank you, members. You are awesome. You rock. And thank you guys for coming for the chill stream. I hope you enjoyed it. Like I said, not a lot of fireworks, but nevertheless, it's good material. And speaking of members, hey, guess what? Tyler Rudder, you are awesome. You rock. You are now officially a member, gifted a Apocrypha Apocalypse membership. Share with friends. Yeah, let's grow the channel. Thank you so much for gifting that membership. You are awesome. And yeah, in fact, for members, you probably saw it. Hopefully, I was able to release it correctly. But I'm going to do a short series on errors in Judith, my own personal perspective on it. That's going to be members only content. It's probably going to be like a 2 or 3 part series. I'm going to share with you some verses that I've been keeping in my back pocket for about a decade. And I'm going to give you the ammo. And also, just a heads up too, David Zavaros has also been working on Judith and the typical errors in Judith. He takes a different tact, and he's going to be presenting it on the channel one of these weeks. So keep your eye out for that. So both our approaches to the problem are different, but they're complementary. And so members get that, and everybody gets David's material. And also, just a heads up, Dr. John Bergsma is going to be coming to Apocrypha Apocalypse, I believe, next week. I could be wrong. And we're going to talk about the Dead Sea Scrolls. And that's his forte. He loves Dead Sea Scroll research. If you guys aren't familiar with Dr. John Bergsma, extremely articulate, fantastic guy. He's a Calvinist who became Catholic. Went to Calvin College here in Michigan. And he's done some really nice work in a lot of things, but Dead Sea Scroll research. Gary, next time you use the Epistle of James for chill streams, please say the Dewey Reams name and not the usual name, please. You got me there. What is the Dewey Reams name? I don't know. I'll have quick prayer request for my mom going into palliative care. Oh, sorry to hear that. Yes, let's keep the Greek Catholics mom in prayer. May God watch over her, protect her. And yeah, let's keep her in our prayers. You guys' prayers are very effective, I have to say. By the way, my wife update, you guys have been praying for my wife who had she had total knee replacement surgery. Your prayers, I can see them at work because she is way ahead in recovery. The doctors are amazed at how well she's doing, although she still has a lot of pain. So the pain's still there. We appreciate your continued prayers, but there's some prayer warriors out there their prayers are extremely effective. So please keep Greek Catholics mother in your prayers as well. Okay. David's in the house. All right, David. I can provide my material. Yes. Yeah. So David, I don't know if you saw that video that I put out for members. And I forgot to mention that you're going to do your own presentation. So I'm going to do that in the next episode to let people know it's coming up. But we're taking like parallel tacks. So I'm kind of taking my own standard one, and you're going to dive into the history and actually give a resolution to the difficulties. So I think we're going to complement each other very nicely. Reasonably, by the way, Gary, if you want to re-upload David and your conversation with me on your channel, feel free. You have my permission. Yeah, thank you. I think I will. I appreciate that. Do you have it set that I can download it like off YouTube? Because I think you have to throw a switch or something to allow people to do that. I'll figure. I'm technically challenged, so hopefully I won't. If anyone's in, yeah, of course people are interested, David. So he's willing to share his material as well. Yeah, I'll have to send, if you don't mind, David, when you do your presentation, I would love to also share that with my patrons and members too, or patrons. St. James. Don't forget the saint. Ah, okay. Thank you. You're right. I should do that. It's just a force of habit. There you go. We got some prayers going, my friend. Yes, brother David is in the house. Yeah, David lurks these chill streams, and which is really cool. Although I wish he'd come on with me, it'd be a lot of fun. On it, Greek Catholic. There you go. You got your prayers, my friend. Hungarian Monster is here. No, the Elagiasi 2.0 is from was it? No, Australia, Argentina. Our Argentinian Yazi 2.0 is with us. Yes. Let's see, guys. Any last call for questions? Because 5:00 in the morning here. Maybe I can catch a little Z's along with Sam. Sam's already in deep REM cycles. See, David, you've already become myth and legend in your own time. I'll send the link. Yeah, thank you, my friend. You are awesome. You're such a blessing. James Tay, better say a Challenger version, only because Dewey Reams is so different from Challenger. Yeah, that's true. Although I haven't really dug into it, I did look into that a long time ago. David Zavaras, you have some hard calls supporting during the World Cup. Ooh. Oh, we don't want to get into any controversial stuff here in the channel. Okay, let's don't talk World Cup stuff. Yeah. Do you play water polo? Where did that come from, SoCal? There must be some side conversations I'm missing out on because I didn't see water polo. Palestinian, there you go. The Bears. Yeah, I'm totally lost, guys. You guys are way off on rabbit trails. Maybe that's because I am starting to fall asleep. I hope you enjoyed the chill stream, by the way. Please like, subscribe, hit the bell, do all that stuff. We appreciate it here on Apocrypha Apocalypse. Again, John Bergsma is coming on next week, I believe. And next chill stream, God willing, will be Tuesday at 3:30 a.m. if God wakes me up. And we'll continue in the Epistle of St. James. How's that? And team stream, I think we're going to shoot from Monday with the 2 p.m. Although I'm not sure, David, I don't think we'll be making it with the team stream, but hope springs eternal. So, Secret World. Oh, thank you. I always forget about that. So, guys, if you want to flex in the chat room, show everybody that you made it through an entire chill stream. I give you my secret word to put in the chat room. And actually, James Day, I'm going to go along with your suggestion. The secret word is Palestinian. I was going to say Jewish lore, but Palestinian is fine. Palestinian, put Palestinian in the chat room. Show everybody you made it to the end and you rock. And that way you can flex. And thank you so much, you guys. I really appreciate it. It's great to see you all. I hope you all have an awesome weekend. God willing, perhaps I'll see you Monday with the team stream. Until then, I want you guys to have a fantastic weekend. Bye-bye. God bless. Bye.